When I saw Peterson Construction on our acquisition list, my heart started racing. Brad Peterson, the bully who beat me up every day in high school. 15 years later, I was about to buy his company. My name is Daniel Torres. I'm 33 years old and I'm the CEO of Torres Development Group in Denver. But 15 years ago at Lincoln High School, I was just known as the kid who got beat up. Brad Peterson had been the nightmare of my high school years. 6'2", 220 pounds, star of the football team. I was 5'7", 130 pounds, quiet kid interested in math. Every morning I'd live in fear of going to school. Would Brad and his crew find me? What would they do this time? Lock me in a locker? Throw food at me in the cafeteria? My worst memory was the last day of senior year, before graduation. Brad had cornered me and said, "Danny, you'll never be successful. You're a loser and you always will be." That day I went home crying. When my mom asked, "What happened, Daniel?" I said, "Nothing, Mom. Just graduation blues." I couldn't tell her the truth. Everything changed in college. I went to Colorado Tech to study engineering. No one knew my past. I could start over. In college, my confidence grew. I went to the gym, built muscle, developed social skills, and most importantly, I became interested in the business world. After graduation, I started as an engineer at a construction company. I worked hard, stayed late working on projects. Brad's loser words were always in my mind. Within 5 years, I became the company's youngest project manager. Within 7 years, I was a partner. Within 10 years, I started my own company, Torres Development Group. My company grew rapidly. I made smart investments, worked with the right people, and most importantly, I proved to myself that what Brad told me was wrong. 15 years later, Torres Development Group had become one of Denver's largest construction companies. We had 200 employees, annual revenue of $50 million. Last month, we decided to acquire new companies for expansion. We wanted to add small but quality companies to our portfolio. My financial advisor, Sarah, brought me a list. "Daniel, these are potential companies we could acquire. They're all in financial trouble, but have good locations." While reviewing the list, I suddenly saw the name Peterson Construction. Peterson. That name was very familiar. I immediately started researching. Owner of Peterson Construction, Bradley Peterson. Date of birth, 1990. High school, Lincoln High School. This had to be that Brad. I examined the company's situation. It was in financial distress, had lost major projects in the last 2 years. Employee count had dropped from 150 to 30. Credit debts had accumulated. I told Sarah, "Can we get more detailed information about this Peterson Construction?" "Sure, Daniel. But why the special interest in this company?" "Old acquaintance." 3 days later, Sarah brought a detailed report. Peterson Construction was on the verge of bankruptcy. Banks had increased loan interest rates. Customers weren't paying. Bradley Peterson was trying every way to save the company. "Daniel, this company is very risky. Why do you want to buy it?" Sarah asked. "Sometimes risk turns into opportunity, Sarah. I want to acquire this company, but its financial situation is terrible. I can save them, with proper management, good projects." Actually, I had no intention of saving the company, but Sarah didn't need to know that. I immediately contacted Peterson Construction, requested a meeting, said it was a potential acquisition discussion. 2 days later, the phone rang. Familiar voice, but after 15 years, more tired, more stressed. "Mr. Torres, this is Brad Peterson, from Peterson Construction. Thank you for your meeting request. When would be convenient?" I realized he didn't recognize my voice. When he heard the name Daniel Torres, it didn't ring any bells. "Mr. Peterson, would tomorrow at 2 p.m. work? We could meet at your office." "Of course. The address is..." The next day, I went to Peterson Construction's office. It was a small, old building. I knew they used to have large, prestigious offices, but now the financial struggle was evident. At the door, it said Peterson Construction. Brad must have taken over his father's company right after graduation. When I entered, the receptionist said, "Torres, Mr. Peterson is waiting for you." As I walked to Brad's office, my heart rate increased. After 15 years, I was going to see him again. When I opened the door, Brad was sitting at his desk. He wasn't in the same shape as before. A bit overweight, hair starting to thin. He looked stressed. He stood up and extended his hand. "Mr. Torres, welcome. I'm Brad Peterson." I smiled and shook his hand. "Hello, Brad. I'm Daniel Torres." He paused for a moment. "Daniel Torres, that name sounds familiar. You might know it from Lincoln High School." His face changed. His eyes widened. "Daniel, are you that Daniel?" "Yes, Brad. That loser Daniel." He started sweating. "Daniel, back then, we were kids, young. Let's sit down, Brad. Let's talk business." He sat but wasn't comfortable. He was hiding his hands under the table. Brad, I've reviewed your company's financial situation. You're in very bad shape. Yes, the economy has been tough in recent years, but we're recovering. You had 150 employees. Now only 30 remain. Temporary downsizing. Will grow again. Brad, let's talk facts. The company is on the verge of bankruptcy. It'll close in 3 months. He hung his head. Daniel, what do you want? I want to buy your company. How much are you offering? $2 million, including all debts, but the company's worth at least $5 million. Brad, a company's value is determined by its debt and revenue. Right now it has no value. Brad looked around desperately. Daniel, please, this company is my father's legacy, 30 years of work. Brad, do you remember what you told me 15 years ago? Daniel, that was childhood. You said I'd never be successful. You're a loser and you always will be. Daniel, I'm very sorry. I was a very different person back then. Who's the loser now, Brad? Silence. Daniel, please, think about my family. My wife, 2 children. Brad, did you think about my life? Did you think about how I went to school in fear every day? You're right, I made mistakes. But please, the offer is $2 million. Do you accept? Daniel, that's too little. Then you'll lose your company. Banks will foreclose in a week. Then you won't get anything. Brad started crying. Daniel, what do you want me to do? Sell me the company for $2 million. What happens then? The company becomes mine. I'll fire you and all employees. Daniel, is this revenge? No, Brad. This is business. Just like you taught me. The strong one wins. A week later, contracts were signed. Peterson Construction was now a subsidiary of Torres Development Group. My first action was to fire Brad. I fired all employees too, sold the company's assets, used the location for my own projects. Brad called me saying, Daniel, please, give me a job. I have experience. I can work. Brad, send me your resume. Maybe I can find a low-level position. He sent his resume. He'd been a company owner for 15 years, but had no basic engineering knowledge. Had survived only thanks to his father's legacy. Brad, unfortunately, there's no suitable position. Maybe try other companies. Daniel, please. No one's hiring. They want references. Brad, I can't give references. As your former employer, I wouldn't be objective. 3 months later, I heard Brad was working as a waiter at a cafeteria. His wife had filed for divorce. His house was sold. He'd moved to a small apartment. 6 months later, he called me saying, Daniel, please, can we talk? About what, Brad? Daniel, I'm very sorry for my behavior in high school. Please forgive me. Brad, I already forgave you. Really? Yes, because you gave me the greatest motivation. Every day you're a loser words come to mind, and I work harder. Daniel, would you give me a chance? Brad, did you ever give me a chance? I made mistakes. Brad, I am giving you a chance. You're alive, healthy, you can work. That's a big chance. I hung up. A year later, I heard Brad had moved out of state. He was working as a construction worker in another state. Meanwhile, I continued growing Torres Development Group. Now we have 500 employees. Annual revenue exceeds $100 million. Last week, I received an invitation from Lincoln High School, 15th year reunion party. I decided not to go, but I was curious, would Brad come? One of my friends called, Daniel, you didn't come to the party, but I wanted to let you know, Brad Peterson isn't in town. He lives in Phoenix, working as a construction worker. Good for him, I said. Daniel, everyone was talking about your success. They know Torres Development Group, we were so proud. That evening I sat at home thinking about Brad's words, you'll never be successful. Was he right, or did those words make me stronger? The truth is, without Brad, maybe I wouldn't have been so determined. Maybe I wouldn't have been this successful. His bullying had made me stronger. But was what he did right? Of course not. Did I get revenge? Maybe. Am I sorry? No, because life is sometimes like that. The strong one wins. Brad taught me that. I taught him the same lesson. 15 years later, who is the loser now? Brad can find the answer to this question while thinking about it at construction sites in Phoenix.